Anong klaseng diligence ang kailangan para ingatan? Ordinary or
Okay, so hi students. Welcome to our last discussion for Unit 1, which is in relation to accounting for partnerships. So we're going to discuss today accounting partnership liquidation. Okay? So as I've discussed with you, the partnership dissolution, partnership dissolution does not involve ultimate or total termination of the partnership. However, when it comes to liquidation, there's already okay, an ultimate termination of the partnership. So the partners are already contemplating to sell the assets and to pay the existing debts or liabilities. Now, to start our discussion for partnership liquidation, our focus is to discuss the purpose of a partnership liquidation, then compare partnership dissolution and partnership liquidation, then discuss the steps in accounting for partnership liquidation and the types of partnership liquidation, and the last, account for lump sum liquidation. Okay? So let's start with the purpose of partnership liquidation. The purpose of a partnership liquidation is to totally wind up or terminate the operations of the partnership by selling all of its assets. Now, in contrast again with a dissolution, there is no total termination for dissolution. However, for partnership liquidation, there is a termination through selling of its assets. So there's a termination of the operation. However, when we say dissolution naman, only termination of operation, termination of a partnership. Okay, termination of a partnership at some point. Then, but the business or the operation still uh, continuing. Okay. However, in a liquidation, termination of operation. How it is done? Selling of assets. And after selling of the assets, another purpose of partnership liquidation is to settle all the existing liabilities from all types of creditors, whether within or outside the partnership. Okay? Dissolution versus liquidation. A dissolution of a partnership only pertains to the change in the ownership structure, as I have discussed with you with the partnership dissolution, but not termination in the business operations. So the business is still ongoing, still operating. However, the structure or the partnership uh, ownership structure is already different when it comes to dissolution. But for liquidation of a partnership, it pertains to the total termination of the business operation, regardless of the structure of the ownership. There is a cease. Okay, there's already a cease in the operation of the business. So we can have it quoted as follows. So liquidation involves both dissolution and termination, but dissolution alone does not involve liquidation. Right? There is dissolution in liquidation, but there is no liquidation in dissolution. Liquidation always involves dissolution, a dissolving of everything. Why liquidation involves dissolution? Because upon liquidating the business, there's also dissolution of the partnership or the ownership structure of the partnership. But in dissolution, there's only a change in the ownership, but not termination of the business operations. So take note of that. So let's move on with the general step in accounting for partnership dissolution, the general four-step model. In a partnership dissolution, first, you must realize non-cash assets and absorb the gains or losses by the partners, and the application of right to offset deficit if needed. Okay, so we're going to apply it later on in problem solving. Next is settlement of liabilities after realization of assets, specifically the non-cash assets. Realization of non-cash assets is to realize those non-cash assets through selling them to for a proceed. Okay. Then after realization of those assets, we have to settle the liabilities from outside creditors. So of all the creditors, the hierarchy of paying rather, paying or payment of liabilities, unahin muna yung outside creditors. After that, settle the loans to or from partners. Then the last is to settlement of partners capital account if meron pang sobra in relation to the cash balance. Kung may cash balance pa na sobra after settling liabilities, then you can pay the you can distribute the remaining cash balance to the partners. Okay? In pertaining to partnership liquidation, there are two types of partnership liquidation. We have the lump sum liquidation and installment liquidation. By the name itself, lump sum liquidation means isang bagsakan. So there is a one-time liquidation of the partnership. So all the assets will be realized, and before the partnership should be liquidated, okay, all assets must be realized first, then all liabilities must be settled. Then after that, then the partnership is liquidated. When we say naman installment, by the name itself, installment in contrast with lump sum, when we say installment, utay-utay. So there is a series of installment. Series of liquidation. So there is a series of selling of asset, a series of settlement of liabilities. Okay, so there is a uh, uh, utay-utay na pagbabayad. Okay, pag utay-utay na pag-realize ng asset, then utay-utay na pagbabayad ng liabilities. Okay, when the partnership able to realize something, they will pay the liabilities. Then any excess will be distributed to the partners. Okay, let's compare lump sum liquidation with installment liquidation when it comes to um, uh, accounting. Okay, so we're going to pattern everything, both lump sum liquidation and installment liquidation, to the general four-step model. So we're going to pattern there, and we're going to compare the difference between lump sum liquidation and installment liquidation process. Now, for lump sum liquidation and installment liquidation, they have both realization of non-cash assets and absorption of gains or losses by partners pertaining to the realization of non-cash asset. So, first step, the same. You're going to realize non-cash assets, then absorb any gains or losses pertaining to the realization or selling of those non-cash assets. Then afterwards, settlement of liquidation expenses. Liquidation expenses is part of the settlement of liabilities because they are the primary, okay? Primary expenses that be paid in connection with liquidation. Next, after payment of liquidation expenses, you must settle the liabilities of outside creditors. So first, second, and third step, they are still the same. However, when it comes to the fourth and fifth step, they are different already. So for lump sum liquidation, after settlement of liabilities, there must be elimination of deficiency due to loss distribution from realization of non-cash asset. So there is a right of offset. Magkakaroon muna ng tinatawag na right of offset. Okay? Either right of offset using loan account, or kung si partner is solvent pa, meaning meron pa siyang personal assets, the partner can invest additional cash. Or kapag insolvent na, meaning wala ng personal asset, then absorption of insolvency by other partners. Okay? Then last is settlement of partners accounts by priority. Why pag sinabing priority, i-settle mo na ang loan accounts, then afterwards yung capital accounts naman. Pagdating naman dito sa installment liquidation, merong distribution of cash after settlement of liabilities. There is directly distribution of cash to partners after considering possible future losses from non-realization of remaining non-cash asset. Okay? So, expected sa installment liquidation na meron pang mga non-cash asset na hindi marirealize, kaya nga installment. So, meaning, utay-utay ang pag-realize ng asset, any unrealized non-cash asset will be considered as future loss. I-absorb yan ng mga partners, then considering the absorption ability of a partner, makakaroon pa ng tinatawag na priority, okay? Cash priority program, okay? Distribution of cash to partners in accordance with cash distribution program in relation sa number 4 na step, loss absorption. Kung sino yung kung may pinakamalaki na loss absorption, ipa-priority sa cash payment. Okay? Between lump sum and installment liquidation, our focus here is only lump sum liquidation. Your installment liquidation will be discussed sa other accounting subject na or baka sa review subject na. Okay? The structure of accounting is almost the same with lump sum and installment. Yung installment kasi, parang lump sum lang yan na inutay-utay. Okay? Iko-compress mo lang yung you're going to compress the steps sa lump sum, then i-apply mo every installment liquidation. Okay? Pero of course, meron silang slight difference in accounting. Okay? So let's have accounting for lump sum liquidation of a partnership. So we have the involvement of lump sum liquidation is one-time sale of asset, so meaning isang bagsakan ang pag-realize ng asset, then one-time settlement of debts. Okay? Let's have an example. The partnership of Fin and Act is on the process of liquidation. The ledger of the partnership shows the following account balances. So may cash debit balance 41,000, may non-cash assets tayo na 150,000 for a total of 191,000 total assets. Accounts payable naman is 96,000, loan payable to Fin 45,000, then FINAC capital 25 and ACT capital 25,000. Ratio nila is 60-40. Then discuss ko muna tong loan payable to Fin. Nasa credit side siya. Ibig sabihin loan payable, ibig sabihin si partnership mayroong loan na ibabayad kay Fin. So may utang si partnership kay Fin. Okay? So asset ito ni Fin, liability naman ni partnership. The non-cash assets daw were realized for 100,000. So meaning this 150,000 were only realized for 100,000 after all the efforts of the partners in disposing those assets. After that, the partners settled all the liabilities and decided to settle their capital accounts on the amount of cash remaining, if any, by preparing a lump sum liquidation schedule. Okay, so yung sa lump sum liquidation nila, since it is a lump sum liquidation only, ito yung mangyayari. I-post mo na lahat ng post mo na lahat ng balances. So yung cash is 41,000, then the non-cash asset is 150. Yung accounts payable natin kanina is 96, loan payable to Fin which is 45, at saka Fin capital 25,000, tsaka ACT capital is 20,000. Now, sabi doon, nag-settle daw ng nag-realize daw ng non-cash asset. All the non-cash assets were realized only for 100,000. So mababawasan na yung ating non-cash asset, matatanggal na lahat, masi-zero out. Then i-post dito yung amount ng proceed na na-receive from the realization of the non-cash asset. So total cash natin is 141,000. Okay, 141,000. Now, take note there is a difference in the amounts of the realization of the non-cash proceed, the cash proceed. So the difference is 50,000, which is considered as a loss on realization of non-cash asset. So the loss will be distributed to the capital of Fin and Act. So it will be charged directly to Fin and Act. The 30,000 is actually the 60% of the 50,000. Okay, so 50,000 times 60% is 30,000. So kay Fin yan. Then the remaining 40,000, which is 20,000, 40% pala. The remaining 40%, which is the 20,000. Okay, so 50,000 minus 30,000 is 20,000. So para yan kay App. So after realization and distribution of the loss, the balances were as follows. Zero out na si non-cash asset. May 141,000 tayo na total cash. Hindi pa naman nasettle si accounts payable, 96 pa rin. Si loan payable to Fin, 45 pa rin. Wala pa namang distribution dyan. Pero si Fin, yung capital niya naging negative 5,000 na. Si Ak naman, meron ng meron pang positive 5,000. So dito naging negative yung kanyang balance, meaning nagkaroon siya ng deficit na after considering the loss of 30,000 on his part as share of the loss on the realization of non-cash asset. So yung magiging applicable dito, is to absorb yung kanyang loss through a right of offset. Hindi this 5,000 will not be absorbed by Act because since there is a loan payable to Fin, the application of loss absorption by Act will not be applied. Okay? Yung mangyayari is rule of offset. So you offset yung loan, babayaran yung loan ng partnership to Fin, so magiging zero yung loan, ise-settle yung loan dito sa Fin Capital, ita-transfer. So magiging positive balance na yung capital ni Fin. So by offsetting 45,000 dito sa negative 5,000, yung magiging balance niya after all this transaction, yung kay Fin magiging 40,000 at saka yung kay Ak 5,000 pa rin. Then after considering the offset, i-consider din natin settlement of this offset will not directly affect the cash. Di mo na maapektuhan yung cash kaya nga wala tayong negative 45 dito. Okay? So elimination only of the loan payable, ita-transfer lang dito. Then consider settlement muna ng accounts payable 96,000. So dito yan ibangga sa 141,000. So yung difference is magiging 45,000. So after again the right of offset ni Fin Capital, yung mangyayari is yung magiging balance na, then after considering the accounts payable payment, 45,000 na lang si cash, may 40,000 pa si Fin at saka may 5,000 pa si Act. Then wala namang ibang i-settle aside from the accounts payable. Yung accounts payable na settle na. Okay? So other than that, magse-settle na tayo ng accounts. So, yung mangyayari, yung total ng capital na i-settle is 40,000 for Fin and 5,000 kay Act. So 45,000 lahat. It is only parang the same amount with nandito. So 45,000 paghahatian niyan ni Fin at saka ni Act. So total of 45,000, magiging zero na yung cash. Then i-distribute. So 40 kay Fin, 5,000 kay Act. So wala na. After that, zero lahat na yung balance. So therefore, afterwards, settled na lahat ng liabilities, settled na yung accounts, terminated na yung partnership. Okay, so this will be the liquidation schedule ng partnership. Lump sum liquidation. So to journalize the liquidation, we debit cash for 100,000 and debit loss on sale of non-cash asset for 50,000 and credit non-cash asset for 150,000. This refers to the realization of the non-cash asset. Okay? Then afterwards, the distribution of the loss on sale of non-cash asset, debit Fin Capital, then debit Act Capital for the respective share, 20,000, 20,000, then credit loss on sale of non-cash asset, 50,000. Okay? Then payment of liabilities, debit accounts payable, credit cash for 96,000. Then right of offset, settlement of the loan, so debit loan payable to Fin, then credit Fin Capital, 45,000. Then afterwards, settlement of the remaining cash, debit Fin Capital, 40,000, Act Capital, 5,000, and cash for 45,000. Okay? So that's it. That concludes our partnership liquidation, the last step for last step or stage in the accounting for partnerships. Okay?